Hi.
It's nice to meet you.
I'm actually really excited to meet you, and I love your movie so much. It's really, really beautiful. Can you explain for people that haven't watched it what it's about?
So Earth Mama is the story of Gia, who is a young mother with 2 children in foster care and 1 on the way. And she's trying to figure out what she's going to do with her unborn child and how she's going to get through the system. Yeah, I wrote the first draft, and I think the first draft was titled Earth Mama. And I spent the whole film thinking, maybe I should just change it. A title can't be the same title from the first time you write a script, right? And then I kept thinking about it, and I kept trying to change it and kept trying to change it, and then it kept coming back to Earth Mama. And I think probably because Black women, I think of as the center of motherhood, the center of this universe. And so that kind of is this Earth mother. And then I think I was playing off of the idea that she is also a birth mother, you know?
Sure, yeah.
And so that's kind of where it came from, and it kind of just stuck.
In my experience of watching this movie, the whole movie kind of feels like this negotiation about whether or not, this big decision that she has to make, right? And I'm not going to give away the ending, but I almost feel like the nature in which it's filmed and this kind of dreamy world that it lends itself to the belief that perhaps it's all kind of happening to you and that the decision's been made long ago. You're finding the answer as just as life's happening to you.
Yeah.
Did you connect to that concept at all?
Yeah, I think she's in this kind of, these obstacles. She's inside obstacles almost. She's faced with the system, and the system has outcomes for her.
Right.
And actually similar to Maid, it's very bureaucratic. It's very, you ask one thing and they tell you 10 things to come back with.
It's such a waste of time.
It's such a waste of time. And she's in all of that. And she's almost trying to get out.
Totally.
And then gets thrown back down and try to get out. And it's finding different routes while she's doing that. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience playing a real person's life?
Yeah. So Alex and Maid is based off of Stephanie Land, who wrote a beautiful memoir about her experience being a maid and having a kid and trying to get by. And it's incredibly descriptive and a beautiful and frustrating read, given everything that she's having to navigate. But the actual, playing Alex, I was in fact playing Alex rather than playing Stephanie Land. I was playing a person that all of these things happened to, rather than playing, having to do mannerisms and an accent and look a certain way. It was really just imagining it were me.
I've been wanting to ask you this because I'm really impressed and inspired by the physicality you put into the roles you play.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's really beautiful. And it's really interesting because you obviously were a dancer before, but I'm curious how that transition may have either helped or didn't help kind of becoming an actor, and what you had to let loose and what you kind of took on board with you.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm also excited to ask you similar questions, given that you were an Olympian, a volleyball player.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy. Most people, I would think just don't, that's probably the peak, to be an Olympic volleyball player and then be an auteur director that has their first movie be incredibly well received with A24 and outstanding reviews and beautiful performances and incredibly heartwarming. It's that's a crazy trajectory. I started dancing before I can even really remember. Like I was in dance class at 2 because that was something that my mom wanted to do, but didn't have the means to do as a kid. So immediately she put me in dance because that was something that she wished she'd experienced. So like that decision, I made the decision to keep doing it. I loved it. I was really grateful that I had that opportunity, but it wasn't something that I initially chose myself.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, like, did you obviously chose filmmaking. Did you choose volleyball? Did volleyball happen to you? Like,
yeah. Well, actually, I chose it really early on.
Okay.
Because when I moved from the UK to America, I moved when I was like 9, and I saw these kids, maybe when I was like a bit older than that, but I saw these kids playing volleyball, and I saw them playing in the gym, and my mom's like didn't really know anything about volleyball. And I saw these kids and I was just like, it looks so liberating to like hit a ball as hard as you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it started out as like this desire, and then in this like craving to do this like action. Right. Being a captain on a sports team is like you're guiding this group of people and you're trying to get the best out of everyone.
So directing probably comes really naturally to you because you've been negotiating people's feelings and like
trying to, and you fail at it. And sometimes you really fuck up because like you say the wrong thing to someone.
Right.
And it really it fucks them up and they can't perform. Or they struggle and they like become more introverted. And what you have to do as a director is like own up to that sometimes, And when you've said the wrong thing or done the wrong thing, is like, how can you talk to them to like ease that? And how can you really like get to know somebody to make them feel comfortable enough to like let that go? Or maybe you talk to a DP in a way that stops him from being his best self, and then you have to figure out, work together.
Right. There's something really limiting about like dance in this training because it's ultimately a sport, So it's like the only thing that makes you better at dancing is dancing, And like your pain, your breakup's not going to help you be a better dancer, like maybe artistically in some like very vague way, but
like also I don't know, maybe this is something you're hitting on, is that like for me sports was really difficult because I didn't get to like say what I was thinking, or there was like no personal
say anything at all.
Anything at all. It was like it felt almost robotic at times,
right?
And like while that was like really limiting for me, and I really struggled with that because I was like emotionally wanting to say so much and like but like who cares what you say?
No one. It's strongly discouraged.
It's strongly discouraged. And so like moving into film, it was like people finally care,
right?
What's beautiful about acting is like you don't want everything to be exactly the same.
No, in fact, so like the things that I would unlearn would be like that, like there isn't a perfect, what I mean? Like there isn't a right or wrong. In fact, like if you mess up, it's probably better. Okay, so you're like, okay,
how do I
try to lose control? Do everything the opposite of what I've been doing for the last,
Yeah, and I love that.
Which is really fun. I really love it too. It's like it's a more like a timeless quest because the like reckoning with not having control is something that we're all going to be doing every day for the rest of our lives, and this is kind of a microcosm of that.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that I've been searching for, like in life in general, is like, how can I wake up every day and not feel like I'm doing a repetition of the day before, How do you choose like all these different projects? Because they're kind of varied in your roles as well. It's not like you're playing the same thing every time. I mean, it's very different types of directors,
I've been really lucky. Also, like, I think what's interesting is like, you guys, you would only know of the projects that I got, but like I've tried for lots of other things. You know what I mean?
Do you like look towards certain directors and you're like, man, like I really want to work with Claire. I'm going to like chase her down and show her that.
Well, not Claire specific. I did really want to work with Claire, but that one was more like I was at Venice Film Festival and Claire Denis had just seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and some man at the airport came up to me and told me that Claire Denis had a movie and wanted to cast me in it. And the man at the airport did end up to be a reliable source and was like her casting director. But at the time I was like, yeah, sure. Bye. But then I was like, great. And I adore Claire, and it was really amazing getting to work with her. But But definitely there's filmmakers that I really, really want to work with and have chased down.
Yeah.
But I think like the best part of working with a filmmaker that you love is just the thing that we were talking about, this idea of being able to like be out of control. Because if you really feel so safe, if you feel like somebody knows what they're doing much better than you do, then you can kind of, there's no losing, and you can be like the best of yourself or the worst of yourself and feel okay.
I was going to ask you a really tough question.
Do it. When I felt like I failed?
Yeah.
So many times. And there's been moments when I've been lucky and like I've been, someone stopped me. Like, okay, one time one of my first days on set with Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was we were doing a scene at Spawn Ranch, and so there was a bunch of like big actors there. There's Brad Pitt and I was just kind of, and we were doing a scene that Quentin had written the night before too. So it was all like, it was like somewhat improvisational to a degree, but not really. It's like, it's very specific. It's not improv, but it was just like there was room for kind of doing what we wanted. Like he was encouraging that, you know what I mean? And I like wanted to do something and then didn't do it. And he like called cut and came up to me and was like, hey, did you like want to do something and not do it? And I was like,
He saw
oh my God.
No.
Yeah. I was like shocked that he could tell, but he was right. And then I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, do it next time. And I was like, okay. And then I like did it. And I was like, right. Like, I mean, he's amazing because everything's so rhythmic with him. And he's like paying so much attention to every single nuance. He could like feel it, you know, he could feel that like there was something that was meant to happen that didn't happen. And, but there was another good lesson of like, just take up the space. Like, you're okay. You can take up all the space that you want and it's fine, you know? But I think like women are often encouraged to not do that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm constantly learning how to like break away from that.
Well, also like it's scary to take up space because then when you go home, you're like, but I did this and this and this and this. And like, what, it's like, it's much safer to just be quiet and.
Yeah, but I think that's one of your strengths and why people are so drawn to you is that, especially in that film, I feel like so many people were just like, what? Like, who?
Well, yeah, luckily I learned that lesson on the first day because then I was like, hello!
But that's such a power. That's such a power that you have that.
Thank you.
It's been so special to meet you, and I'm like very grateful to have had this conversation.
I had a lot of fun talking to you, and you're just amazing. I can't wait to watch everything that you do. I'm really blown away by you, and thanks for, talking to me.
Of course. Let's do it again.
Okay, great. Bye.